It was a late Friday evening at TitanTech Industries, the kind of moment where the office lights burned long past sunset, and every executive's nerves were stretched to the limit. The company faced a catastrophic system failure, one that could cost $100 million in contracts, client trust, and stock market credibility. Panic had spread through the boardroom like wildfire. Phones rang endlessly, emails pinged frantically, and the IT team was drowning in error logs and failed simulations. Among the chaos, Marcus Bell, a 32-year-old black janitor, wheeled his cleaning cart down the fluorescent-lit hallway, humming softly to himself. He had been with the company for over a decade, sweeping floors, changing light bulbs, and ensuring the offices were spotless. Nobody in the boardroom had thought of him as someone who could influence the financial fate of a multi-billion-dollar company. Until now. As Marcus passed the server room, he noticed something odd, a blinking error light that the IT team hadn't flagged. Curious, he paused, wiped his hands on his uniform, and leaned closer. His eyes scanned the code scrolling across the screen. Something in the system's backup logs caught his attention. A misconfigured algorithm that was causing cascading failures. Marcus's mind raced. How had the IT department missed this? The error was glaring, but buried under layers of complex code and technical jargon, invisible to most. He realized immediately that if this problem wasn't corrected, TitanTech could lose hundreds of millions overnight. He quickly formulated a solution. Without hesitation, he typed a line of corrective code and pressed enter. Within seconds, the system stabilized. The error logs disappeared, the servers hummed normally, and the failing contract status reports updated to active and compliant. The IT team and executives, who had been panicking moments before, stared in disbelief. How? One of the senior engineers stammered, pointing at the stabilized system. Marcus simply shrugged, wiping his hands again, tried to remain invisible in the room of elite executives. That's when CEO Jonathan Hayes walked in, a man known for his calculated ruthlessness and sharp intelligence. Hayes stopped dead in his tracks as he saw Marcus standing calmly beside the servers. "Who did this?" he demanded, scanning the room. The room went silent. No one spoke. The board of executives looked at Marcus as if he were a ghost. Everyone expected the IT team or the senior engineers to have fixed it, not a janitor. Marcus stepped back as the room watched him. The calm confidence he had projected moments ago clashed with the tension in the boardroom. CEO Jonathan Hayes' eyes narrowed as he reviewed the stabilized systems, a storm of thoughts flashing behind his composed exterior. "Everyone gather around," Hayes said sharply, his voice cutting through the stunned silence. "If Marcus fixed this in seconds, then we need to know how deep this goes. Who or what allowed this to happen?" Marcus hesitated. He could have remained silent and walked away, but something told him the $100 million crisis wasn't random. A subtle trace in the system log suggested deliberate tampering, not mere human error. Hayes and the IT director combed through the logs alongside Marcus. As they traced the error, inconsistencies began to appear. Certain backup files had been modified at odd hours by anonymous accounts. Certain algorithms had been tweaked in ways that didn't match normal coding practices. Marcus's intuition screamed that someone inside the company had orchestrated the failure, and it wasn't an accident. "Look at this," Marcus said quietly, pointing at the time-stamped edits. These changes were made deliberately. Someone knew exactly how to create a cascade failure and hide it from the monitoring system. This wasn't incompetence, it was sabotage. The room froze. Whispers began circulating. Executives glanced at one another suspiciously, faces pale. Hayes quickly ordered a full audit of the system and employee access logs. Marcus volunteered to assist, leveraging his unique familiarity with the physical server layout and subtle operational quirks that no one else noticed. Within minutes, patterns emerged. Unauthorized access during off hours. Subtle tweaks to code that would trigger a high-impact error under peak client activity. Attempts to cover tracks with automated system resets. Marcus realized something terrifying. The sabotage had been designed not just to cost money, but to discredit the company and potentially compromise sensitive client data. The next morning, TitanTech's boardroom was transformed into a war room. Monitors displayed code sequences, access logs, and timelines, all converging on one terrifying conclusion. The sabotage had been carefully orchestrated, and someone with insider knowledge was behind it. Marcus leaned over the screens, eyes scanning patterns invisible to everyone else. "Look at this," he said, pointing to a series of system overrides executed during peak client activity. The person who did this knew exactly what files to modify, what alerts to suppress, and what would trigger maximum disruption. This wasn't just about money. It was a test, a calculated move to destabilize the company. Hayes rubbed his temples, his usually calm demeanor strained. If this is true, Marcus, then someone on the inside is working with outside players. This isn't just corporate sabotage, it's an attack. As Marcus dug deeper, he discovered a surprising trail. All the anomalies traced back to Alexandra Reed, the company's chief strategy officer. Known for her brilliant mind and aggressive corporate tactics, Reed had always been respected, perhaps even feared. But Marcus noticed inconsistencies in her access logs, unauthorized logins, masked IP addresses, and encrypted communications with unknown external contacts. "It's her," Marcus whispered. "Reed has been orchestrating this. She's the one who engineered the $100 million problem. She created the chaos to manipulate the board and push an agenda we don't even understand yet." Hayes called Reed into an emergency meeting. Marcus discreetly monitored all digital channels to ensure no further sabotage could occur. As Reed entered, she projected calm confidence, but Marcus could see the micro-expressions, the slight hesitation in her eyes, the tension in her hands. Hayes spoke, his voice measured but cold. "Alexandra, we've traced the system failure, the deliberate errors, and unauthorized access. This wasn't incompetence. This was sabotage. Explain yourself." Reed's smile faltered. I don't know what you mean," she replied, her voice carefully neutral. But Marcus noticed a slip, a subtle hand gesture toward her tablet, which she quickly hid. Marcus and Hayes moved quickly, converting the boardroom into a tactical operations hub. Every monitor displayed live system activity, employee access logs, and financial data, all feeding into Marcus's encrypted terminal. The external collaborators Reed had enlisted were still attempting to manipulate systems, cover tracks, and sabotage any further investigation. "Marcus," Hayes said, tension in his voice, "if they succeed in one more override, we could lose not just contracts, but the entire company. We need to move fast." Marcus's fingers flew across the keyboard. With precise commands, he deployed a real-time containment protocol, isolating Reed's system and tracing the external IPs attempting intrusion. Marcus coordinated with Hayes to call an emergency IT task force while secretly documenting all traces of Reed's manipulation. They executed simultaneous maneuvers, locking down critical financial records, redirecting incoming system attacks to isolated servers, capturing forensic evidence of Reed's sabotage and the external collaborators' activity. Minutes stretched like hours. Every alert, every breach attempt sent pulses of adrenaline through Marcus, but he remained calm, calculating and always 3 steps ahead. As Marcus traced the external IPs, he discovered a shocking revelation. The external collaborators were executives from a competing tech firm, secretly funding Reed's plot to destabilize TitanTech. Reed had been their insider, planting chaos to manipulate the company's stock value and gain strategic advantage. Hayes' face turned pale. This is corporate warfare," he said quietly. "We're not just fighting Reed. We're fighting a coordinated attack designed to ruin us from inside and out." Marcus nodded. "Exactly. And that's why we can't act recklessly. Every move must be calculated, or we risk playing right into their hands." Marcus's heart pounded, but his mind was razor sharp. The allure about the intruder in the server room confirmed his worst fears. Reed's external collaborators had sent a team to physically sabotage the company's infrastructure, risking everything. Every second counted. "Hayes, lock down the building," Marcus commanded, his voice calm but urgent. "We need to control access and protect the evidence. They want chaos, but we'll give them strategy." Security personnel sprang into action, sealing exits and redirecting staff. Meanwhile, Marcus monitored the intruders via the building surveillance system, anticipating their every move. Marcus deployed a coordinated countermeasure. He remotely secured all critical servers, rerouted the intruders' access attempts to isolated decoy terminals, and triggered silent alerts to local authorities. Hayes coordinated with the board and legal team to ensure that Reed and her collaborators could be held accountable. The intruders moved to the server room, unaware they were being tracked. Marcus watched every step, noting their positions, movements, and the equipment they attempted to tamper with. Within minutes, law enforcement arrived, containing the team before any damage could occur. As Marcus reviewed the captured evidence, the depth of conspiracy became horrifyingly clear. Reed had been working with multiple external entities, rival tech firms, shadow investors, and rogue contractors, to manipulate TitanTech's stock, sabotage operations, and discredit the executive team. The $100 million system failure had been a small part of a far larger plan. Hayes, staring at the screens, muttered, "Marcus, you didn't just save the company. You saved our reputation, our future, and countless jobs. You've outsmarted everyone involved." Marcus smiled faintly, knowing the victory was only possible because he had observed, acted decisively, and remained calm under extreme pressure. As Marcus walked through the now-secure server room, Hayes by his side, his terminal pinged with one last alert. Encrypted message received. "You've won this round. But bigger forces are watching, and the next challenge will be far greater." Marcus's eyes narrowed. The $100 million problem had been solved in seconds, but the real battle, the shadowy network behind Reed and her collaborators, was still out there, observing, waiting for the next move. And Marcus knew he had to be ready. Marcus reflected on the ordeal. True intelligence and courage don't depend on title or position. Observation, initiative, and calm decision-making under pressure can turn even orchestrated attacks into opportunities. Humility, patience, and strategic action allow one to transform disaster into triumph, proving that anyone, even a janitor, can change the course of massive events when insight and courage meet. Subscribe for more interesting and powerful stories.